Hello, another day in the life of an insurance agent. My name is David Matkoski and our agency is called Vistaplan Financial Group. Today I'm going to be working with a young medical doctor, a family doctor. He gave me a call and said, I have all these office expenses that I'm responsible for. Is there a way to insure them so that in the event of a disability, those expenses can get paid? So today's topic is office overhead insurance. Okay, so let's get started. Let's talk about office overhead insurance today. First of all, what is office overhead insurance? Well, office overhead insurance is a disability insurance that in the event of accident or sickness, office overhead insurance provides the money to help you pay your office expenses. A lot of physicians and dentists might have $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 of personal disability insurance, but office overhead insurance can range anywhere from $5,000 a month up to $30,000 or $40,000 a month, depending on your office expenses. So there's several reasons why office overhead insurance is important. The very first thing is it's for your staff. In the event of a disability, it provides the money to keep your staff on salary so that when you return to work, you have a full office of experienced people to help you start to rebuild your practice. The last thing you want to have happen is to suffer a disability, be out of work for a couple or 3 or 6 or 10 months, and have your staff start leaving because they're no longer getting paid. Also, paying your staff from your professional corporation or paying them from your savings in your PC is very expensive. For a lot of medical practices, salaries can amount up to 50, 60, or 70% of the total office expenses. So salaries are very important to be covered with your office overhead and expenses. The second thing to remember is that premiums for office overhead and expenses are deductible. So whatever you're paying, whether it's $200 or $500 a month for office overhead expenses, those premiums are totally deductible from your taxable income in your professional corporation. Third, premiums are level to age 65. So the sooner you get into office overhead insurance, those premiums stay level right through till age 65. And certainly as you get older, those premiums start to look very inexpensive. The fourth thing is office overhead insurance can be purchased with guaranteed insurability. So your expenses might be $5,000 a month today, but in 5 years, they might be $7,000 a month or $10,000 a month. Office overhead insurance with guaranteed insurability allows you to increase your benefits as your expenses go up. Also, some policies for office overhead insurance include our return to work assistance. So as you return to work on a part-time basis, you continue to receive a partial disability benefit from your office overhead policy until you're back working full-time. The way to think about office overhead insurance is to think about all your fixed expenses. There's a lot of them. There's your rent and utilities, insurance, office supplies can count sometimes they're not counted. Advertising expenses that you have contracts for, your accounting fees, salaries and wages, depreciation, legal expenses. If you have a bunch of leased equipment, all of that is included. The way to think about office overhead insurance is to think about all your expenses and then decide, if I was disabled and not coming to work, which of these expenses would continue? If the expenses continue, even if you're not at work, they would qualify as an office overhead expense. If you're buying a lot of supplies for your clinic, and stocking them up in a storeroom, those would not be included in office overhead insurance. So while you're disabled, you can't build up a whole supply of medical supplies or dental supplies that are used later on. So what you have to remember is with office overhead insurance, it's your fixed office expenses that are covered. Office overhead insurance can be purchased from basically age 18 to age 60, and it's non-cancelable and guaranteed renewable to age 65. Most office overhead policies start after 15 days or 30 days. There are some plans out that start after 0 days of a waiting period, but most of them start after 30 days, 15 days, and benefits are usually paid for everything from 12 months to 24 months. So for example, if you became disabled and you had a 30-day elimination period, at the first 30 days you don't receive any money. So if you were disabled and off work for 2 months, the first month you would be on your own, the second month your expenses would be paid by your policy. And then those expenses would continue to be paid for either 12 months, 15 months, or 24 months, depending on the benefit period inside your contract. Premiums are also tax deductible. You can increase at a later date, and you also have the return to work assistance. So office overhead is really important insurance to have for a couple of reasons. One in particular is the premiums are so inexpensive compared to personal disability insurance. I'm not exactly sure if it's half the cost of disability insurance depending on age, but it'll be very close at most ages to be half as expensive as personal disability insurance. So you should never think of using your personal disability benefit for your office overhead expenses. It's much less expensive to simply buy an office overhead policy, have that policy looks after the expenses in your office, and your personal disability provide you with an income. With most companies, the way claims work is when you become disabled, let's say that you had a 30-day elimination period, no benefits are paid for those first 30 days, but you're always paying your expenses. So with some companies, you actually have to have a list of all the expenses that you paid, and then you get reimbursed for that amount. So it's also important to make sure that you monitor your office overhead insurance to be very close to what your expenses are. For example, if you had an office overhead policy for $20,000 a month, and at the time of claim, your office overhead expenses actually amounted to $10,000, they don't automatically pay you the $20,000. They would pay you what your expenses are actually at. Also, if you had a 12-month benefit period, so you were going to receive office overhead insurance for 12 months, and at the end of the 12 months you're still disabled, but you didn't use all your expenses, so you didn't use your benefit times the number of months up. So for example, if your benefit period was $1,000 a month, over 12 months, that's $12,000. During those 12 months, let's say that you only used $8,000 of the benefit because your expenses were lower in some months, then the benefits period would continue until you actually use up all the money. So office overhead really is a pretty simple contract. You become disabled, you have office expenses, the insurance covers those expenses, keeps your staff employed, and allows you to come back to work to a fully staffed office, ready to go right back to work again. So that's our story about office overhead insurance. If that raised any questions, in a couple of minutes you're going to see a slide with my contact information. If you have any questions or require a quote for anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. We're always willing to help. You can also go to our YouTube page and register, and we try to post something every Wednesday, and we always try to provide you with as much education as we can about insurance, both life and disability insurance. So thank you very much for listening. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.